What's up, welcome back to Nowstalgia. Dave here with a review of Justin Bieber's 7th album, Swag, a complete surprise release from Justin, only confirmed the day before as some billboards begin to pop up in Iceland where he recorded this album, returning to a source of creative inspiration from him from previous sessions many years ago. Album kind of comes out of nowhere, comes at a interesting time, I guess you could say, for Justin. You know, this is only his second album in the last 10 years. Of course, that's following Justice in 2021 and Purpose in 2015. And this trio of albums is really, this is like the Justin music you associate with Bieber's adulthood, right? His, evolution into a more mature artist in person, his 20s and now 30s era of music making. But he hasn't been super active. But 2 albums in 10 years, that's something we would associate with like Adele, not necessarily someone who's as mainstream and big in the pop space as Bieber remains today. I mean, despite the fact that there's been no new releases from him in the last 4 years, he's still sitting at over 80 million monthly listeners on Spotify, good for 10th overall. It just shows you the strength and enduring performance of his music catalog despite no new music coming out. And of course, that catalog was actually sold, I believe it was last year, in a $200 million deal. Really the first of its kind for an artist so young in terms of that scope. All the music catalog deals that have happened in the last 5 years have largely been big legacy acts with huge catalogs and decades of output here. Bieber selling a catalog for such a huge sum is unique for sure. Of course, Justin Bieber has also split ties with Scooter Braun, his longtime manager, and they actually recently settled one of their remaining dispute, which was regarding Bieber's canceled Justice tour, which resulted in some unpaid money that had to be resolved. And we'll be very curious if Justin Bieber goes out on tour for Swag, given he barely did any performing for the last album. Of course, he's remained a tabloid figure with his marriage to Hailey Bieber and his consistent run-ins with the paparazzi. Of course, the viral moment with the Pops recently is referenced on this album here. The now iconic quote from Justin, "It's not clocking to you that I'm standing on business," which is pretty hilarious to this day. And yeah, Bieber back. It kind of goes without saying that when Bieber's on, it's some of the most, hard-hitting pop we can get in the traditional sense, right? I'm still very fond of songs like Sorry and What Do You Mean and, a lot of the Purpose era stuff. And I'm certainly looking forward to Bieber continuing to be an artist, even though he definitely feels like someone who's a bit more reclusive than we would have expected at this point. That said, Bieber, seemingly went through a full creative process with this album here and working with some newer collaborators. Carter Lang, who's worked a lot with SZA, Tobias Jesso Jr., who's worked a lot with Dua Lipa, Eddie Benjamin as well. He's really kind of an all-star team, and a lot of this was recorded in LA and Iceland again. I'll be curious if we get another Iceland set music video. Of course, what was that, 10 plus years ago? More than that, 15 plus years ago, when the I'll Show You music video came out, 12, 13 years, Journals era, whatever it was. That was so big and so expansive in Iceland that it actually resulted in Iceland having to, fence off areas that Bieber had just been wandering in, and thus was increasing tourism to said locations. It'd be pretty funny if he does another music video over there, given what happened last time. But yeah, 7th album, Swag, it's here. Justin Bieber's 7th album, Swag, is unlike anything he's ever really done. And if you think about his now last 3 albums, the 3 albums we'd associate with his adult career, this is certainly the least radio-leaning album he's ever made, and is frankly almost lo-fi for Justin Bieber standards. It's a clear production and sonic shift, more acoustic guitars throughout the release. Mk.gee is a big collaborator on here. His influence is very easy to see. It's certainly cool that he's trying to make something in a different artistic lens. I think that's really admirable and is a positive sign for the future of his music. I didn't necessarily hear a ton of songs I really loved on this. I feel like the concept and the ideas I'm more interested in than the actual execution of the music. Daisies is appearing to be the highlight of the project thus far, which Mk.gee was involved with, but no one would confuse that song with Sorry or even something as straightforward as Peaches. I think a album like this, which is more of a mood piece, like this puts a lot more pressure on Bieber and his team's songwriting and his storytelling. And I just don't know if it's consistently there on this. You know, I think early on when you go through the track list here, you notice stuff a little bit differently. All I Can Take, you know, you have these very pitched vocals from Justin. It's a clear change. Daisies, as I mentioned, very bouncy song, like the kick drum, very light, airy vocals from Justin that fit the drums, I think, very well. Yukon, Justin's pitched even more up. Go Baby, the vocals come back to normal here. Lyrically, easy to follow in terms of his relationship with Haley. Kick drum noticeable again. I do find that repetitive chorus, though, a bit of a letdown, despite the heartfelt verses. Butterflies, this one has a kind of a messy vocal mix. I like the guitar popping up, but I just don't think it sounds very great. Way It Is, gonna feature, trap beat. I think Justin's just done songs like this a little bit better in the past. Not my favorite. First Place, definitely more conventional vocally. Glitchy drums, kind of cool. Then we have a series of, I think, 3 interludes featuring Drewski and Justin talking. Some cringe moments there. The Standing on Business reference comes up. You know, it is what it is. Kind of funny, I guess. Shout out Dad's Love, though, featuring Lil B, the bass god of all people. Just an amazing collab to hear in 2025. Lil B feature. Burna Boy having a Mick Jagger feature. We're going back, man. And it's pretty fun. I think the song's fine. Like, it's not my favorite song, but I just love the gesture of it all. Sweet Spot stood out to me just because Sexy Red has more of like a staccato flow herself than she usually does. I think Justin's vocals are pretty good on this one. 405, though, I feel like Justin's not really enunciating all that much. Like on the song, I don't like his performance there. Swag stands out because it's a Cash Cobain feature, Justin's take on Sexy Drill. Again, though, it doesn't really come together in that interesting of a way. So yeah, this is definitely an album for him. That's super cool. I applaud it, but it's not really an album I'm going to find myself revisiting all that much. And I just hope that maybe Justin doesn't wait 4 more years to do something else. We'll see. Let me know, though. How did you feel about Justin Bieber's latest album, Swag? What'd you think of it? And for more music reviews, subscribe. And I'll see you next time.